Hey guys, it's Mike again from Mosquito Bite Mike's. I recently got back from a trip to Costa Rica and Nicaragua, and man, what an adventure it was. I'm going to share that with you guys pretty soon, but first I want to put a little video together and talk about COVID travel and see if I can walk you through the process, give you some tips, maybe some tricks, some resources that you can use to make your trip a little less stressful and a little easier. And let's face it, we go on vacation, we don't want to be stressed out with all the paperwork and shots and tests and all the other stuff. We want to go to have fun, right? So anyway, so let's get right to it. Okay, so it's time to leave. What do we need to do? So 72 hours before your departure, you would normally need to get a COVID test. Most countries do ask that you have a negative COVID test to let you in the country. Now, it just so happens that Costa Rica is not one of those, so that's not something you have to worry about going there right now. So you can take that one off your list. They do require that you have COVID health insurance. So what is COVID health insurance? Basically, it's insurance that specifically covers you if you have COVID and have to be treated medically or in a hospital or have to stay in a property somewhere until you can get over it and be able to test negative and get home. So it's insurance to cover all that. A lot of the big trip insurance companies are, they've added that to their policies. In some cases, it's an extra add-on if you need that. There's also several companies in Costa Rica that do that. They just offer that a la carte. I mean, you can basically, how many days you're going to be there, it costs so many dollars a day, here's your coverage, and it satisfies the government. So I'll leave links below to all this good stuff so that you can check it out, but just know that you're going to have that. Now, having said that, then you roll into your health pass. So it's online, it's super easy, you fill out your information, and there is a place in there that they will ask you who you got your insurance from and or the policy number and stuff like that, and you have to fill all that in. Now, you'll know you've done it successfully and you'll know you're good to go as soon as you get that QR code. So when you get that, that's an all-important document right there, because you're going to need it twice. You're going to need it to get out of the country because you're not going to be able to finish your boarding process at the airline when you leave without showing that. And you're obviously going to have to show it again when you get to the airport, and immigration down in Costa Rica. So anyway, so it's not too difficult, but there's the basic pieces of getting down there. When you get to the airport, again, there is a mask requirement. You're gonna have to wear your mask, in the airport, on the plane, in the airport when you get there. So that's not going to be a whole lot of fun, but it is what it is, and so just be prepared for that. So let's talk about in-country experience. So when you get there, it's great. Now, we were in La Fortuna, Liberia if you speak American, and also the northwest side where Dreams is. It's pretty Spartan. It's not crowded like San Jose. It's a place where people just aren't wearing masks, and there's no curfews, and everything. Or they're not enforcing any curfews that I'm aware of anyway. So, but a lot of times you're so remote that why would you leave the resort in the middle of the night anyway? So, anyway, the experience is very pleasant, and it just doesn't feel like you're having to suffer at all. So, the in-country experience is great. So don't worry about that. Now you got to come home. So, to get back to the United States, you have to have a negative COVID test, right? And you also have to do a little CDC form that basically it's a little one-pager attesting to who you are, that you got this, you had a negative test and which test you had, and it also, that form allows you to fill that out for a minor because everybody over 2 has to have one. So it's a little bit of crazy documentation, not a big deal. I flew United, and they had it as part of their check-in procedure to go back, and you do it online. I had some friends flying American. They didn't have that incorporated, but they just had they had pages of them they fill out at the counter when they went back. So it really wasn't a big hassle. But let's talk about the COVID test. So if you're staying at a big resort, they have set up this electronic system. All the major resorts are using it, and you have the ability to sign up and get a time and get your COVID test done, and they email you the results. And it's pretty efficient. The forms are a little buggy, and sometimes they're not just a breeze to run through, but you can get through it. It's not that big a deal. However, if you're staying at a bed and breakfast or a smaller place, you might want to just figure out what that's going to look like before you get there. Now, there are clinics here and there and yonder, but sometimes you might have to pay for those. I think an antigen test goes anywhere from $25 or $30 to like $75. If you have to get a PCR test, it's $150. And we'll talk more about that in the Nicaraguan piece that's going to come up later. So figure out where you're going to get your test so you can plan ahead and you don't waste days or hours of your precious vacation time and stressing over how to get this test in the timely fashion, get the results, and be able to get on your flight back home. Be aware that they have set up rapid test facilities. They're these big circus-looking tents at each airport. You can sign up online for that. The premise of that is you can get there early enough, get your test, get your positive, your negative result. Go check in for your flight and go home, which is pretty cool. So Costa Rica's gone out of their way to try to make it easy, but just be aware that it's a big country and it's all spread out. So depending on where you're at, make sure you know how you're gonna accomplish that with the least amount of headache. So there you have it. I have a couple of tips. I try to do everything electronically because it's just so much easier. But you know what? Phones break, batteries die, internet goes out, stuff gets stolen, gets dropped, gets lost. I highly recommend you make a copy, if you can, of all these different pieces of paper so that if something happens and you're at an airport or you're somewhere, you have a backup copy. It just makes good sense, and it's really easy, especially of your passport, because you don't want to give your passport to anybody. If you lose your passport, you're just in a world of hurt. So my advice there would be to try to carry some backup copies just to be safe about it, especially now that you have to keep track of medical insurance and COVID tests and forms and just all this good stuff to travel. So not really that big a deal, but it would help you a lot. The other thing that I want to talk about is there's a site called CIBTVisa.com. It is the most comprehensive site I've run across yet. You can go there and you can put in where you're leaving from, where you hold a passport from, what country you want to go, and it gives you all the information on what you need to know, and it's updated on a daily basis. And so that's the best way to keep track of what's going on and all the different changes and what's going on in these different countries, and so you can plan your trips a little more efficiently. I think I mentioned a while ago just a couple extra things that starting August 1st, if you're vaccinated, if you're fully vaccinated is defined by it's 14 days past your second shot. Okay, so if that's the case, then Costa Rica, starting August 1st, is going to waive the requirement for having to get health insurance. Well, that's a pretty sweet deal right there. So keep also something in mind. There's lots of countries now that are doing a lot of those things. They're not really changing the requirements, but they are waiving a bunch of them if you're vaccinated. And sometimes that means the difference in being able to go or want to go, because who has time to go somewhere and be quarantined for a week or have to take a test when you get there and get another test while you're there? And it's just, it's ridiculous. So in some of these instances, in some of these countries, it's the difference in being able to realistically being able to go and not go. So anyway, that's going on. A rumor I've heard, I don't know if this is fact, but as early as September 1st, we could have a new requirement, or the CDC and the federal government could be dropping the requirements for airports and wearing masks on planes. So you can still wear a mask on a plane if you want, but you're not required to. So that might be coming up. We'll see how that turns out. So that might make flying a little more comfortable for people that don't like to fly anyway. So there's that. So my final thoughts: go. Don't stop, go. There are deals out there. There are fun places to go. They're not crowded right now. The people need the money. They need the love. And it's just, go have fun. Don't stop traveling. It's a little bit of extra hassle, but it's so worth it. So that's all I can say. Please go. Check out the Nicaragua and the Costa Rica videos that are going to drop here in probably about 3 or 4 days. And hey, we'll see you out there. And just remember, if it's going to happen, going to happen out there.